Hi, I'm Morrison McGill. I've been a teacher for over 20 years, senior teacher for a good 10. People might know me as Teacher Toolkit as a Twitter account, but more often it's becoming the website, which is a platform for resources for the classroom, for schools, and generally just kind of teaching opinion. What made me decide to set it up was in 2011 I was made redundant in a senior leadership job. I took voluntary redundancy because I was going to be a father for the first time. So I'd already started up a Twitter account about a year or two before that, just to tweet and share reflective opinions. So I thought, well, I'll start writing more regularly, and in 2004 I'd won the Guardian Award for teaching in a secondary school in London, and I'd seen all these other people win the award and go on to kind of books and events as the teaching awards became a bit more like the Oscars. I thought, well, I'll contact the Guardian because the Guardian Teacher Network had just started. I thought, can I offer to write for you as well as on my blog? And one thing just led to the other, and then I still got a bit itchy, so I managed to get into a school and start working again. But at the same time, it made me start to love writing. So all those kind of things happened all in that kind of period, being a new dad, losing your job, trying to get yourself settled in a new job, but also survive and have to feed your family. That was the kind of impetus for Teacher Toolkit, and one thing led to another. It didn't generate any income, but it gave me a voice, and people liked what was being read, so that was my motivation. In your first year of teaching, you can look at research, a huge amount of investment from your higher education universities. You get all that money pumped in at the start, you get all your intense coaching and mentoring from your tutors, you go into school, you do your practice. As soon as you qualify, you're pretty much left to your own devices, and then you're lucky if a school will invest in CPD with you annually. Some teachers, my wife for example, hasn't had CPD I think once tailored to her own needs in the last 10 years. But the moment you say you give staff control of their own enrichment, their own career path within school, but also maybe aspirational in terms of developing their subject knowledge, suddenly you have a bit of a eureka moment with the individual, and then they're fully engaged, and their motivation increases, their commitment to the school, their commitment to their own subject, the department, because teachers are hungry to learn and kind of break down all these myths and share great ideas. So that's why you see a lot of teachers on Twitter who are quite active during the week, attending events, teachers organising great CPD at the weekends. Teaching is all about collaboration and networking and sharing, and because we're so bombarded with the workload, we get very little time to breathe and to reflect. And teaching is a very reflective profession, and it's important that if you want to refine what you do, you have that breathing space. By default, teachers have a 35 hour week contract. 90% of that time is dedicated to teaching classes. Then you're expected to do your marking, your data, following up phone calls, dealing with behaviour issues, being on duty, trying to grab a sandwich to eat, trying to get some sleep. Where is the time for your professional development other than when your school tells you what you're going to do, where and when and how? That's not motivating. And if you haven't got any professional development from when you first qualified, who's going to help you become a middle leader? Who's going to help you become a senior leader? Who's going to help you become a head teacher? My kind of first port of call was always social media. And then you've got your normal channels, your big newspapers and tabloids that can point you in the right direction. But there's always companies like Teacher Toolkit that are offering resources to help teachers, and the vast majority of those are free. Again, most of them are kind of off the shelf, and that's a great solution for teacher workload, because a lot of teachers think they have to reinvent the wheel when they don't at all. Professional development has changed significantly, I think, particularly on social media, because teachers are now, myself included, have organised loads of free events for teachers. Obviously I'm a full-time teacher, and I've organised events that suit my own needs or my own lifestyle, but I've had 500 plus people come to my school for Teach Meets, and if you're not familiar with Teach Meets, it's kind of an unconference, an informal event where teachers come for specific themes and share great ideas, and this stuff that's being organised by teachers is quite empowering, because we can break down all gimmicks and myths and look at evidence. So the last 3 or 4 years, there's been a huge rise in those type of events by teachers for teachers. That's great, but my issue is, why is that not happening in schools during the week? And I guess the 2 key reasons, well, there's 3: the workload, the budget available, and the time. A solution of one of the schools that I worked in is we collapsed our timetable so that Wednesdays were time for professional development, and there weren't always one size fits all. Sometimes there were, but other times we came up with a bespoke system where staff could lead sessions, choose what sessions they wanted to go to. Some would be repeated, so there was a bit more long-term kind of planning. Probably 50% of them were faculty time, so the actual staff had more time to implement some of the ideas and have a bit of breathing space within their kind of directed time. Where it all falls down is if the programme's changed last minute, or if you have a lot of changes at government level or even the whole school level that impact on the professional development that you've got to give to staff. As soon as those things start to happen, it becomes a bit pointless for me as an individual, because I've got things that I want to do as a teacher, things that I want to do as a subject specialist, but also things I want to aspire to, such as a master's degree or something like that. As soon as things become a bit more niche and specialised, then you prick the ears of staff and they get involved, but you've got to have the mechanics in place for staff to be able to do that, and when you've got pressures externally, it's very difficult for schools to achieve.